Dhyanamoolam Gurumurti Pujamoolam Gurupadam Mantramoolam Guruvakyam Mokshamoolam Guru Kripa. Om Shri Guruve Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. That's so interesting, today's topic. Let us quickly look at the slides. Yukta, Aahar, Vihara. This word came to me from Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. It's a whole sloka, but I felt it is very interesting to study what is Yukta, Aahara, and Vihara. We have seen, while we were dealing with when we were dealing with Mandukya Upanishad, in that the first two stages, it refers to 19 mouths, and summarizing it again, 5 organs of perception, which are eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and skin, the 5 organs of action, and speech, sex organ, and anus, prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana, and inner instrument, which is mind, intellect, ego, and memory. Having said this, I will now go to so that I could see and hear everybody. Let us first refer to the first 5 organs of perception. And in that too, the very first one is eyes. So Yukta Aahar, Aahar means food, and we all know what is food for the eyes. So in that, whosoever want, you can all unmute it. Please unmute yourself. Whether you talk or you don't talk, unmute it. Today is the time. All right. Mukesh, if you may. So now, whosoever wants to volunteer, raise your hands and start talking as to what would you consider ideal food for the eyes, or the yukta. What would you use the word yukta meaning? Moderate, balance, whichever one you think I should be even talking about. Okay.
Carrots.
I'm sorry?
Green vegetables. Salads.
Okay.
Vegetables, yeah.
So you say salad, vegetable, would you call
Carrots.
you call it a Yukta Aahar? But I'm talking about eye for the eyes. Okay, if you feel comfortable with the tongue or the mouth, all right, go for it. Let's talk about the food first. This is how, okay, Jayshree.
No, I was going to do eyes, but if you're going to do food, that's okay.
Sorry?
I was thinking about eyes, but you could do food.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Since she started food, so I'm taking food.
Okay.
What would you call a Yukta Aahar? Yes, Vijay?
I think it will be different for different people. Like some people like spicy food, so that will be the Yukta Aahar for them.
Mhm.
And who likes jamun, they will like the sweets. So it's a different thing for the other person.
Okay. So which,
So whatever, individually, whatever they like, that will be the Yukta Aahara for that person.
Yukta?
Sorry,
Okay.
the favorite food for them.
Okay, you can even counteract, you can argue, but the idea is that we evolve. Let's not have the intention of criticizing anybody. Okay? Yes, Naina then.
I think Yukta means proper, and for me, I think it is a quantity, which I give more important. Eat little less than what you need. That gives you kind of more balance.
Okay.
Does it also depend on your body constitution?
Body,
Based on your constitution, your kapha, pitta.
constitution, yes, yes.
So if you're not prone to have spicy food, you don't eat spicy food.
Okay.
So it depends on individual personalities or body constitution.
Okay. Go ahead. Other people continue. Yes.
So, Vijay, appropriate, the Yukta food means easy to digest.
Easy to digest. Okay. Shailesh?
Yeah, I think you are pointing out to the eyes, ears, nose, and all that. Food not necessarily means physical food that we eat. We're also looking at something that is also food for our mind and body. What you hear also is a food for mind and body. So essentially what I think you are intending is the food that kind of allows me to be peace with myself is the food that I should probably be looking at, not necessarily physical food.
Okay. So that is, Shailesh, I'm very proud of you. You put it very well. But then you made a general statement. But let's go step by step, meaning right now, since everybody is talking about the food for the mouth or the tongue. So what would you consider Yukta for you alone? What would you consider? Not theoretical ideal. What do you understand with this?
Again, the body kind of tells us what food is good or bad. So typically when I eat something not gelling with myself, the stomach doesn't feel good. So, and it tries to throw the food out. So you kind of know what is good and during the course of years, we kind of, somehow know some foods work good on you, some foods don't work good on you. So I think it's just learning through the years, and whatever food that is apt for us is individual. Again, somebody was telling earlier, it's an individual, each body has its own. So we'll have to recognize those things.
Okay, very good point.
How about timing of when you eat the food? When you eat the food and how well you chew it, is that part of Yukta?
What
Eating
you-
it fast, eating it slow. Say you eat a small amount of food, but the right amount of the right kind of food. But there's still another step of the process, right? You should be having good thoughts while eating. Is that part of that?
I don't know. We all are learning together. So
As you always, Bakul bhai, you always mention that, it's not important what you eat. It's also important how you eat.
how you eat, okay? And I think Jayshree was covering the same point. Yes
Yeah.
or no, Jayshree?
Yeah, that I was, yeah.
And you mentioned when you eat.
Also when, like late at night, at midnight. That's my downfall, but yeah.
Okay.
It should be, earlier and give us the time to digest.
Keep thinking, every one of us. Keep thinking and keep on adding.
How about eating with gratitude? First
Wow.
praying to the God and praying to how many people has work behind providing that food while you are eating. Always have that kind of sense or gratitude to everybody.
Beautiful, Nina Ben, beautiful. You see,
Thank you.
let me mention one or 2 points. This is not, I'm looking for the health alone point of view. My main concern of today's this 19 mouth is for spiritual practice, spiritual evolution. And my friend Shailesh mentioned so lowly that what food can make me peaceful. Okay. And so did everybody else. You mentioned excellent point with gratitude. Jayshree mentioned timely eating. Gemini mentioned her points. So keeping and making notes mentally. And today is Monday, and just starting from tomorrow onwards, adapt some of this principle in our life. So sadhana is not necessarily sitting in front of the temple and rosary and ram, ram, ram. Okay. Whereby I'm not saying it is not, don't misunderstand me. But every breath, every step in the life is sadhana. So today, we are looking for 19 mouths today and hereafter for some time. And we are not here to finish it. Contemplate, and I feel so happy that all of you contemplated on it. And you're coming up with some lovely points. Okay.
How about the nature?
About what?
Admire the nature. If you didn't
Admire
have
the nature, yes, universe around you. Okay. So we can categorize that as ambience. Ambient means surrounding environment. But you are going in little more detail as to looking at the nature, Mother Nature, thinking of Mother Nature. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So appreciating the food, the gratitude, and as Naina Ben said, how many people have contributed to. It's not that you just go and buy it because you have money, but gratitude, nature, and it's not only the persons involved, nature itself or herself has been so heavily involved. So let's move on, keep on contributing. Yes, Jayshree.
I was thinking, I know we're saying all the things that we should do, but sometimes we almost I want to talk about what we do. Like all the things that are on the opposite end, like okay, I have to admit this. I love cheese. So I do eat more cheese than I should. So if I say this, then maybe I can realize, oh, I need to bring that down a little bit. What is everybody's like, I don't know, their vices, I guess.
Okay.
With food.
She is mentioning about she loves cheese, so we all have certain liking, and that apparently we consume more.
Right.
Okay. So is it okay? And if not, why not? And if yes, why?
On spiritual point, I think I'll say that if you like any food, let's say as an example, Jayashri, you like cheese. It's
Right.
okay to like one food, more, but when you eat, just wait, like as Soniji taught us before, that when it's front of you, just step back a little bit and just don't just eat right away, just step back and just think about it. Even though if the cheese is not in my plate, I'm okay to eat, and then eat, so that way you appreciate more.
Good point.
Am I right, Soniji? Or you want to add
Excellent point.
something?
So anything that I have like a heavy craving for, I should step back and
Yes.
just
It-
wait, breathe, and
Don't eat right away when you are like in very heavy craving. Don't eat right away, just step back a little bit and then eat, that way you will appreciate more.
Excellent point, Gemini.
great.
But then my question to everybody, except Gemini, and Gemini can later say it, but why Gemini said so? Not because I said it, but why Gemini says that we should step back for 5 minutes or 2-3 minutes.
So she's a good cook herself. She knows the value of good food.
Thank you, I will take that credit.
That
Okay.
means we'll have to step back all the time.
I guess
No, I
we are.
think that's just to control your reaction versus response. You're reacting to something, and you take a step back. And I think the reason why you want to take, like Jayshree said, take a couple of breaths, and then create the appreciation of what you're gonna have, what you're gonna eat, and think about that before you put that into your body, and then eat that. So I think that also controls your appetite. You're not eating thoughtlessly. You're not eating in abundance. I think when you step back and eat, your quantity and the quality of food improves and quantity decreases.
Okay, what other point? For the same point, what are the other points? Somebody.
How about non-hurt green vegetables?
Sorry?
Non-hurt.
Oh,
Green-
non-hurt with, no. Mandabai, I appreciate that point. That point will come to it in a minute. But why stepping back 5 steps or 5 minutes or 2 minutes and then eating? Why?
Can I say something?
Absolutely, Asra.
How are you? Sorry.
Oh, love to have you. Go for it.
Sonajit, I was actually talking to Margie, and also you were saying that before we eat, if we breathe, like 5 times before we eat, you bring yourself in a relaxation. You're gonna relax, and what you eat is gonna have more benefit in your body. You're gonna observe that, and it's gonna be very very relaxed, and maybe that craving that you have is going to come down, and whatever you use is going to be more beneficial for you than eating fast and you don't know what you're eating.
Very good point. But that again goes for digestion. It being the process of parasympathetic nervous system and vagus nerve what Margie was talking about. But what other point which we have learned so often?
So I think, Sonaji, some amount of self-control and mind control needs to be there on anything.
Who's
Can
talking?
I make one
No,
correction
it
here?
is-
I think we don't use like a control, because whenever we use control, that it's temporary. You cannot control for a long time. So control, I think that word is little like a tricky. Instead
Okay.
of control, we can say that we want to train our mind that
Sure,
way.
sure.
Instead of
So-
controlling, just train our mind that way.
Yeah, so essentially training the mind to not get addicted to anything, right? When you step back, you're thinking about it, okay, if I have, let's say, 4 pieces of cheese in front of me and decide, okay, I don't think I need 4, I'll just take 1 just to satisfy the taste buds in my mouth. So that stepping back is essentially, I'm able to control, train my mind to avoid. And at some point, there will come a point when, even if you keep 4 pieces of cheese in front, you may just say, hey, I don't want it. And you probably, Jayshree, will just step back from it.
How beautiful.
I wouldn't say that. I would eat all the cheese.
All right.
I have a problem with things like, well, for example, tonight I'm going to admit this is for Jayshree because she wants somebody else to admit it. And tonight I was really good because I was good yesterday too. During Easter, I didn't eat anything that I didn't want. I didn't eat any cheesecake or anything like that. And today I was very good. I ate only a salad for dinner. Usually I have a bigger dinner. And then I sat down, I had an hour before the class, and I thought, well, I haven't had that piece of cake that I probably should have. And no, I better not have it. Yeah, well, maybe with some ice cream, it might be good. And so I put the ice cream on with the cake, and then I sat down in front of the television, and before I knew it, it was gone. And the big point for me is that if I don't eat, if I turn on something that's distracting, like the television or the radio, and I pay attention to that, and not to, if I don't pay attention to what my real feelings are, if I get distracted, I just eat, and I can't help it. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important to what everyone's talked about being mindful about when you're eating. Thinking about things other than just filling your gut. That's all.
But sometimes don't you feel like you just eat just to kill the time sometimes?
Exactly.
I don't know how many times in a day I'll get up just to go to the kitchen, open the refrigerator, close it, and sit back down. Just cause I don't know what I'm looking for.
Okay. So Jayshree, Shailesh, and Chris, what a lovely points you are bringing. We learn to what not to do. Okay. And we still do it. But then why we are learning what not to do? Why? Why stepping back 5 steps?
Because we think what we are doing is not right.
Okay, but why it is not right?
Because we are slaves to our senses. Then isn't that?
Okay, but then what is
our tongue is telling us, "Oh, this tastes good."
Okay, but what is
your tongue? It's not like you're going to feel it.
Well, here you're trying to, every time you step back, you're actually practicing Sanyam. You are isolating yourself, your senses from your true self. Who is telling you to step back? I think once you realize that, hey, there's an inner voice telling me to step back, listen to the voice. Longer you step back, you're creating that distance between your senses, all those 19 mouths, and your true self, basically. So I think, in my opinion, I would think that saying hold off is restrain and you're coming in contact with your true self, and you're trying to control. Again, not to use in a bad way, but your senses are not controlling you. You are the one who's controlling your senses.
Let's use the word master.
Master. There you go.
All right. Okay. So, are you have any more to say, Mukesh?
No, that was.
Okay. Let me ask you, all of us, how many of you agree with what Mukesh said?
I agree.
I agree.
Only one person. Two.
No, I agree.
I agree. It's eventually
I agree.
we get there.
Agree.
Okay, but then go back to still further, and Mukesh already covered that point, but I'm still raising the point. Why to have the mastery over mind?
Because mind is conditioned by external sources.
Okay, but why? Why to have mastery over mind?
Because that's who you are.
To find your real self.
Because that's who you are. You have to, once you have the mastery of something, it's being one with who you are.
Okay, and why to?
Pardon?
Why even you want to be one with you?
Because that's where the judgment and whatever you do, it is on a different level. It's not physical, so much so that eating is. Eating is physical, and there are people who don't eat for days and they survive because they are that level of mastery. They are out of physical level. They are on that level of not needing anything to eat because there is no need for your true self to eat.
Okay, so you 1 second, Jayshree. Maheen says that to go with your true self and not with your physical self. But then my question is, what's so wrong with being physical self?
There is nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you are trying so far in our life, from the childhood till whatever age we are right now, that's how we were conditioned and that's what we are following. But at one point in your life, you realize life is not just what I'm doing right now, it's much more. So now I want to reach to that level. And one of them is to have mastery over your being as much as you can, which is the most difficult thing. I'm not saying it's easy, it's very difficult. But once you get there, then the physical things become lighter. They become not so important anymore, which they should not be, as we know. The detachment of physical life is a way to realizing yourself more and more. That's why there's nothing wrong with physical life.
Okay, Jayshree, you have something to say?
No, I was thinking, you're asking why, why do we do what we do is because we all want to be happy, right?
Please listen, everybody, very, very good point. Because we are not talking about idealism. We also want to know when we are doing something, why. Go ahead, Jayshree.
So our motivation for anything is to be happy, and eventually overeating or even undereating is probably going to end up leading to unhappiness, because overeating is going to cause a whole bunch of set of problems. Same thing with undereating, eating the wrong kinds of foods, all kinds of things cause unhappiness. And isn't that why we're going towards spirituality? Is to find that bliss, find ourselves, so that we can finally realize that who we are bliss, and not be attached so much? Is that what you're?
It's again the question of happiness. What is happiness? That's what it comes to mind when you say this is about being happy as far as eating a lot or not eating. That's the thing that separates the happiness of, again, physical being than the spiritual being. So if you are trying to make our physical being happy, you're totally right. But if I'm trying to have it for myself, many times have experienced. That's why they say when you do yoga, you have to do it on empty stomach, because the experience is totally different. It's where you can connect to yourself when your stomach is empty. For whatever reason, that makes that part of life that you are trying to find kind of easier than when your stomach is full. When your stomach is full, that part goes away, if you ask me, because you want to sleep, you need time to digest, you need to go and walk. But when you are empty, your stomach is empty, you can do other things, to me anyway, that I cannot do with full stomach.
I think I agree with Jayshree and Mohim saying that happiness, we are actually chasing happiness, thinking food gives happiness or something else gives happiness. So we are chasing that. And at some point we realize all of this are very short-lived. It is very temporary. And so we again go back and eat, maybe thinking that makes us happy, but then it only lasts for a few more minutes or maybe an hour. So that's when I think she was saying that you tread a different path to know the self. And at least I don't know about that part, but have heard where you get to a state where you get a bliss, so that that state continues throughout and it is not temporary.
So this brings me a question. What is the difference between bliss and happiness?
Happiness is a state that is always subject to change. And on the other side of happiness is sadness and grief. It's never, bliss, as I understand it, is something that's a permanent quality. I don't know.
Okay.
Isn't happiness subjective?
Go ahead.
Happiness is subjective, right? To Jayshree, happiness is eating cheese. To me, something else. Just an example. So I think I think this is an exercise of practice of going from outwards to inwards.
Your voice got chopped, Mukesh.
They're external.
You are breaking.
And we are sort of inwards.
Your voice get chopped, Mukesh. You're bringing very lovely point. All of you are bringing. What a beautiful discussion.
I have one more question. Is it only for food or for anything you do?
Yeah, yes, sweetheart. Anything you do.
Yeah.
Just before you joined, we were talking about there are 19 mouths with which
the next time you pay a car insurance renewal, you may.
Hello? Okay. With the 19 mouths, we take the food in. So answer to your question. And all of those will come in few more minutes. Mukesh, can you say? Your mic is closed. Mic is off. Okay, go ahead. Mukesh, go ahead.
Sorry, Sonaji, can you hear me?
Yeah, now very well. Go for it.
I was just saying that I think the whole purpose of, to me, is a bigger purpose. I think you are drawing your energy for all your focus and energy is going outside, outwards. This exercise allows us to bring that back inwards. And I think that's when the true self, we're going to experience our true self and true nature within ourselves, not external. So these are the steps that we have to take to how to control it's just like a pratyahara. When we sit in, one of the steps is pratyahara. What does that mean? We are slowly slowly stopping the energy flowing outwards and focusing that energy, keeping the energy inside. Does that make sense?
Jayashree, you heard to say Pushpa
I was going to say something. Yeah, that is the ultimate goal. But in pursuit of this, are you saying that we don't live in this world at all?
You do.
That we don't enjoy?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mukesh bhai.
See, I say you do. You live in this world, but you don't. It's like don't be off this world, right? You live in the world, but not off the world. So that's the thing. You are doing your daily duty. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing all your daily duties. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was saying that we all learn together Ishavasya, and that's what it says in first sloka. Tena taktena bhunjeta. Anything, like anything, any activity, any food, anything you are doing, enjoy with detachment.
Right. That is right.
Enjoy. There is nothing wrong to enjoy anything, whatever you like. You like tea, you like coffee, you like cheese, it's okay. And enjoy that thing, but enjoy with detachment. That's a practical way to live, because we cannot be like a sannyasi, stay in the jungle and don't eat anything, or just eat only the uncooked like leaf and survive. We want to enjoy our life. We want to be happy or blissful, but we can enjoy with detachment. So if one time, if we don't have it, it's okay too. If we have it, it's okay too.
So when you say it is okay to have it, it's also not okay to have it. What is that state called?
State call is like a detachment. Enjoy with detachment.
And is it not the point that we all are discussing?
Yes.
Case is bringing the same point.
Yes.
And we were talking about the word bliss and happiness. So every happiness has unhappiness associated with it. And what the whole point is, we have this body, and the body needs to be taken care. Meaning, it's nothing not to do and nothing to keep on doing. So the word yukta, the moderation. So now we are discussing moderation, then why moderation? So at that stage, there comes the point of the difference between happiness and bliss. So bliss is your inner state, and that inner state is the subject Mukesh was talking about. That, and in order to reach to, if you keep on satisfy the hunger of your body, once more, I got to have it. And that point you also mentioned very well, I got to have it. So if you observe the play of your mind and step back and see the word mastery Shailesh and Mukesh were talking about, so that mastery to be attained and the path of learning to be mastered is the path of spirituality. And if any one of you differ or wants to add something, please do so.
So what are you trying to say about moderate? What you mean by moderate? You mean by
Well,
moderate as a
I
quantity
haven't even
or
reached to that point
quality?
yet.
Okay, because people are going off the subject, so I think we should stay
Exactly.
more to the
Exactly.
Ahar.
We are going off the topic, and we are not going off the topic. And I will explain to you this point. Slowly, we are learning to get to what is Yukta, what is moderation, Jayshree.
Would you say Yukta is the first step to all of this, to the spirituality? Because Yukta, it reminds me of Sattvic.
It's the same word you can
Same
use.
word, right?
Yes.
So for us to reach any kind of inward, I mean, the first step to even our spirituality is to take all our mouths and make it sattvic.
So go ahead with your point.
I lost it. I'm sorry. I was going someplace and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I got distracted. Sorry. I'll come back if I remember.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to add anything to it?
I just have a point. It's Western philosophy, but it's interesting because you talk about moderation, and when you mentioned that last week, I was thinking, I remember in a philosophy course that I had in college, that Aristotle talked about moderation, and he said moderation in all things. Therefore, my thinking was that for all the 19 mouths, we have to have balance and moderation in everything. No excess. Excess is counter to our spiritual needs.
Correct.
And many times what I think I do is I go to an excess or to extremes on certain things and pay more attention to certain things rather than looking at the whole picture of the 19 mouths.
Yes. Anybody wants to comment on it?
I agree with you, Chris. Excess, but there's also the opposite of it, too little of it.
Yeah.
I think we always talk about like.
And now, since you're talking about excess and since you're talking about too little, who decides? Your doctor decides?
No.
Self-satisfaction.
Isn't
Your mind.
Satisfaction.
Your mind decides.
It keeps it keeps increasing, right?
If
you have a little bit of,
if you let your mind decide, then you are losing the whole point of having mastery over the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're the slave of your senses at that point.
Beautiful. So, what would you, who decides? Or do we guys need some time for the 1 week?
No.
1 week's not enough.
Yeah.
How about we have to be satisfied with what we have at that time? Just be satisfied.
Okay, but how would you decide satisfaction?
Because you feel good.
Okay.
You have and you had, you are feeling good about what you have.
But Chris said that He feels good watching TV and finishing ice cream and the cake all together.
But I don't feel good. I don't feel good about it. I feel bad about it.
Yeah. If you feel good, it is good.
And just to make a point on what we're talking about is I think that in order to achieve, for me to achieve a sense of having mastery over my senses, I need to do things like breathe deeply or do asanas or do something that we've been learning about yoga, you know, centering yourself. Because if you don't center yourself, you're a slave of your emotions, you're a slave of your appetites.
Okay. And leading to the point, Chris, you said you do yoga, you do this, and somebody mentioned that let your mind or your body decide. How would you let your body decide?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. What was that again?
As you were saying, and the other people were saying, to have balance, and you did not feel good about consuming all the ice cream and all, and that is not, and you started mentioning do yogasana, pranayama, and others. But by doing so, what are you attaining?
You're attaining, you are attaining a sense of balance. You're attaining, and my experience is that when I actually do meditation, when I do breathe properly, that I'm in a centered place. I'm able to make decisions without being driven by my emotions or by my senses, by my taste, I need this, I need that. When I am balanced, I don't feel that need. I don't feel, I feel like I have some sense of, I guess, control over my appetites.
Okay. And
that makes sense.
How do
it does? Yeah. That means you feel good. What you're saying earlier, Chris, that you didn't feel good even though you had ice cream and cake, right? You gave in.
Right.
That guilt factor. So by not eating or doing that, you are proud of yourself that, hey, I fought off something that was not good for me. As you know, and you know, so you have that self-satisfaction, self-control. Okay, I can do that. I can fight back. I can fight off. There are so many things that come in our own. We know deep down that's not good for us, but we still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
By doing this, by controlling and practicing more importantly than before. And I think then you feel you have a sense of accomplishment, and I think that happiness that you feel is the true sense of you touch something inside you.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
That I got my control back. I got myself back. I'm not driven by my senses, and I'm not totally going after what's out there. I can still stay happy by not doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
It's too vague, but abstract. Too abstract.
Let us, all of us, understand the linguistic, at least, difference between bliss and happiness. Who wants to comment on it?
Happiness is temporary.
Okay.
I would say, and bliss is maybe deep and more permanent.
Okay.
Happiness depends on something, and blissful is within you.
Exactly. I think bliss is the natural state that we have.
Wonderful.
And that we're trying to get to.
And why we fail to get to, Chris?
Why do we fail to get to it? Was that your question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we are slaves of our minds. We're slaves of our appetites.
Okay.
And that's why I was saying that it's important to do things like, even if you don't have time to do meditation or asanas, It's important to stand there and maybe just breathe, take a few deep breaths, to dissociate yourself from all of these appetites, all of these sensory inputs and desires that are immediate, that seem to have an immediacy to them. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
Monkey mind.
yes.
Monkey
Has-
mind.
Has anybody ever felt
Yeah,
even a little bit of bliss? That we're chasing so much?
And then your next question will be, can you describe it?
No. I mean,
Okay.
like here we are, like chasing something so vague. I mean, we think it's there. It's like saying,
Well, one thing we
or
know
have
for
you found
sure,
even a slight?
but one
I
thing we
mean-
know for sure, Jayashree, is that what we are chasing, the happiness so-called, is temporary, right? How many times we have achieved what we want, we got it, that happiness was temporarily, momentarily,
That's right.
right? And then we are back to
I
the same grind.
agree. But
So
yet,
then,
uh-huh.
so then there's something beyond, something more, which is permanent, right? That is something that we are after, at least we should be. Then why are we going, why do we satisfy? Why do we just compromise with something which is so temporarily? And that is what Sonaj is trying to drive the point home, that all these 19 mouths are the mouths that we are finding those temporary happiness. But the bliss is what we are trying.
Shailesh, go ahead, comment something.
Oh, I was just contemplating on
Take a
Jayashree's
break.
question whether
Right.
has
then we
anybody
can
reached the
start
state
looking
of
inside.
bliss? I was just thinking, what does sleep do to us? Do we actually, when we sleep, do we really actually go into bliss? Maybe there are moments when I'm doing nothing and I still go into that state where you really feel happy, but I don't know. When I wake up, but you feel really fresh. I think that's what, say, I had a good night's sleep, with the blissful sleep, right? Maybe that is where I personally would have touched, but I can't explain what that is.
That's the Gana state, right?
Ooh,
I don't know what that is.
okay. Just to help you folks out, we all are discussing what we are discussing, and we have discussed enough number of times. We are seeking happiness, that something else can make me happy. Either a cup of ice cream or a cake or sleep or cheese, whatever. Okay, so Maheen has a lovely point to say. You say, okay, so talk.
Happiness is not something, you have talked about this 300 times, that happiness is something to find somewhere else within you. Bliss is within you all the time, all your life.
Right.
Say it again. Say it again.
That happiness and bliss is not something to get to. Is not something brings it for you. It's within you all your life, from the time you're born as a child, when you're young and you're under 5 years old. You are all bliss, nothing but bliss and happiness.
No, hold on. Let us, okay, all that I was trying to do is to understand the difference between happiness and bliss.
Bliss is you are in a calm mind. There's nothing bothering you and you are totally relaxed.
Yep. Bliss, yep. And bliss is your true nature.
May I say something? I just had a thought.
Go ahead.
I think that happiness is something, we talk about the objective world and the subjective world. I tend to think of happiness as something that is out there in the objective world that we're all striving for, whereas bliss is something that is in us already. It's subjective. It's going inwards.
Beautiful.
That's what I think.
I will let Chris repeat it, what he said, and let's all of us, we contemplate on it.
I think that happiness is something that is out there in the objective world. It's always something outside of us that we're trying to get to. whereas bliss is something that is in us. It's diving inwards, like in Sarates, dive inwards. If you dive in, you find bliss. The problem is, how do you get in? And that's what we're working through, I think, in these classes.
Beautiful. And understanding this point alone, Jayashree had also a very beautiful question that we are talking in vague. Has anybody ever experienced bliss? Let me tell you, all of us have experienced bliss, but that was momentary. And why momentary? Because the mind was taking over. Whenever mind is in a mindlessness state, understand the point. When the mind is non-reactive state, try to bring in what we learned in Mandukya Upanishad and what we learned in Ishavasya Upanishad. Okay? So whenever mindlessness state comes, it is with us. So now Jayashree can still argue the point that if it is permanent, then why doesn't it stay permanent? It is permanent because it is you. As soon as you are born, it is with you, and that's forever. It is not that something you go and look for. What we are going and looking for is the object. The object we think it will bring us the happiness. And as a matter of reaction, there is never happiness alone. There will be unhappiness too. But that, hold on, hold on.
Also, Ajay, I'm sorry, but a lot of us,
Hold
including
on.
Sorry.
Hold on.
I thought you were first.
Okay. All I'm saying is, as soon as you let your mind be silent, you don't have to look for bliss. It will be such a peace of calmness, love, compassion, all of those features. And Chris was saying it's not out there. Had it been out there, like any object, you have to go and get it. But as soon as you put your mind to a mindless state, a non-reactive state, and still be aware of, then you are in a bliss state. So understanding this difference, it's so important. So understand the word permanent. Permanent is there because you don't have to look for it. And it's not out there. But then, as Jayashree was questioning, and it can be our question too, why, if it is permanent, then why don't you feel it forever? You will feel it forever, provided you put your mind to mindless state. If you can put the mind to mindless state forever, it's all yours. So whatever little mindlessness state we bring it to, that much happiness. Or you let the control over mind, I'm using the word control, master over your mind. So just observe what my mind is doing it. As soon as you observe what your mind is doing it, then you know that whatever you need to satisfy, not to satisfy, but to maintain adequately, you do. You breathe, you eat, you drink. And that is what the word Yukta means. And then the question was, who decides if you truly allow your body always speaks to you. Body tells you that Even half a spoon of vegetable is too much. Now I'm full. But we think that why even a spoonful to who will put it in the refrigerator? I don't want to throw away the food, so eat it. But body does tell you that enough. Body does tell you it's a time to sleep. Body does tell you it's a time to wake up. But we have not made the body sensitive. Body is every time it's giving you the warning while we do it otherwise. So Yukta Aahar, at least for the food point of view, and we'll summarize it as we continue our this point. So body is sensitive enough. Number one, let us learn to listen to the body. Every time, it's not, if you are hungry, body will tell you. If you are overeating, body will tell you. If you are undereating, body will tell you. But mind you, may it be body and not your mind. Mind will lead you to craving. Body will tell you what is just rightly needed. Body is not 12 o'clock that you go and eat, but body will tell you when you are genuinely hungry. So genuineness, centering what Chris was mentioning, the word yoga, okay? We talk about yoga, nothing but mind-body integration, right? But understand what it means. And dear friend, I'm sorry, it has been long back, 8:30 is over. It's 9 o'clock. And I must not overindulge you into this because we step back by step and the time. Okay, I'm sorry, Maheen, now I interrupted you because, go ahead.
Nothing. Thank you. I'm in a hotel in San Diego, so I have to go in and out all the time. What I was gonna talk about was what you just mentioned. I was gonna say we don't even know our own body. That's amazing that we go with our mind and our body tells us all the time everything we need to know if we just listen to it. That's all.
Maheen.
Pardon?
I say I should have let you talk, so I didn't have to talk. Very good. I appreciate. And all of us, we know it. I just happen to summarize everybody's point. These are not my points at all. Everybody said it so beautiful. Everybody so participated beautifully. God bless you all. And if you will give me pleasure a couple more times, we are yet not done with the even food only, okay? We'll talk a little more, think about it, contemplate on it. And we have, as Chris mentioned, 19 mouths. Ooh. So
a lot of miles to cover.
Yeah, a lot of mouths to cover. All right. Allow me just to have a Shantipat conclusion. Let's have our eyes closed. Oh. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. That's it. I do thank each and every one of you for your lovely participations. And at the same time, I beg everybody's pardon because I overextended by 36 minutes. But the topic is such, and next time, if you prefer to have a shorter one, please let me know ahead of time. This topic is such that each one of us have so much to contribute, and I appreciate that. So, Hari Om, and thank you.
Yes, sir.